Okay, I think we should be live here. Let me get the links and stuff all set up and make sure that we're good to go. All right. All right. I think we are good to go. So far, I don't think anyone's in here yet. So waiting for uh, wait for more people to get in here. Oh, Jarrett Guarantano with a funny tweet. Holy cow! All right, this is gonna be a fun one tonight, guys. Jarrett Guarantano with a fire tweet. If you haven't gone and looked at his Twitter yet, if you're watching this replay, go check it out. He has a hilarious tweet. He got the job done holding up I can't remember what movie that's from now, but fake hands on it. Oh, I can't remember the movie that's from now. But anyway, hi everyone. I'm Nathaniel Rutherford, managing editor of RockyTopInsider.com here for the RTI Post-Game Show. Post-Game Reaction Show, I should say. That was stressful. I think that's a good word for it. Gritty, emotional. I would say impressive. Lots of words to use that you could use to describe what Tennessee just did on the gridiron against Kentucky. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Nathaniel Rutherford. We do this after every single Tennessee football game. We'll do after some of Tennessee basketball games as well this season. Streaming here on YouTube. I'm the managing editor of RockyTopInsider.com. I don't know if I said that or not already. I think I did at the beginning intro bit here, but I'll be here for a little bit. I don't know how long we'll go for this episode or this show or this whatever you want to call it, this iteration of the show. But I'll be here as long as you want me to, I guess, because we have so much we can talk about from this game, so much to discuss, so much to celebrate, and so much to maybe go back and just kind of, I don't know, there's a lot to talk about from this game. Tennessee wins 17-13 against Kentucky in probably one of the more impressive defensive showings I've seen Tennessee have. The defense really, I mean, I know that they've played not as good offenses over the last, month at this point. This defense has really turned itself around after the way they began this season. From the second half of the South Carolina game, Tennessee has given up 20 points in, I guess, I can't do math, 10 quarters of play. 20 points in the last 10 quarters of play for Tennessee because they gave up none against South Carolina in the second half. They gave up 7 to UAB, and really that one was on a garbage time touchdown. And then they gave up 13 tonight in the first quarter. So you've only had two of those 10 quarters where teams have even scored in any of those quarters. First quarter tonight, and then the fourth quarter against UAB last weekend. Oh my God, Jarrett Guarantano. The comeback story for that kid is incredible. I don't know what the future holds for him in terms of his time at Tennessee, in terms of, next season. Really kind of how his career will go down in Tennessee history, but let me tell you, that kid, he has withstood a lot. He, and rightfully so, lost respect and lost the trust of a lot of all fans after the way the season began. Like I said, rightfully so, with the way he played, with I don't say the way he acted, because I don't think he acted, poorly by any stretch of the means necessarily. You can look at what he did his freshman year, or I guess redshirt freshman year, hiding on the sideline. But he wasn't acting poorly until he, with the demeanor and things like that. He did do the awful fourth down call against Alabama. But tonight he comes in after Brian Maurer gets a start. Maurer didn't look great. I wonder if he was still kind of, sorry, I'm putting the laptop away for right now. I wonder if he was still kind of still suffering some ill effects from his concussions and just injuries, and playing in the cold for probably the first time he's ever played something that in a weather that cold. He's from Florida after all. I don't imagine he's played in weather like he did in what I call the frozen tundra of Lexington. It feels like every single time Tennessee plays Kentucky in football in Lexington, for whatever reason, college football decides to make it a 7:30 kickoff, and it's always like 40 degrees up there or even colder. So whatever reason, that's just how it always is when Tennessee plays in Lexington. Yeah, feel free to leave some comments. I've seen a few people come in here, Chase and Luke. Feel free for anyone else watching to leave some comments on anything here. But I think Maurer came in still kind of rusty. Wasn't used to playing in that weather. Wasn't doing things great. He made some decent throws in the second quarter. Kind of looked like maybe he's settling in, and then he didn't end the half very well at all. And then Jeremy Pruitt decided, hey, let's go to Guarantano. Let's see if he can do something for us. He's the veteran here. He's played on the road here in Lexington before. In fact, one of his better career games as a Vol came in Lexington in 2017, excuse me. Obviously, Tennessee lost that game, and I think in that game he threw for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that loss, obviously, that game's a little infamous for the Hail Mary there at the end that was 2 yards short of the end zone. But Guarantano comes in second half, gets the start, the second half start at quarterback for Tennessee. Holy cow. He was perfect. 7 of 7, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ends up throwing an incompletion in the fourth quarter. But he finishes 7 of 8 for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did have, I don't know if you give the credit, I guess credit to Ty Chandler maybe in that fumble. Well, it was a botched handoff exchange from Guarantano to Ty Chandler. But still, other than that, I mean, he other than that one play, he was flawless in the game. Some comments here. Dakota said the blocked extra point by Middleton was huge. It absolutely was huge. At the time, it didn't look necessarily like that was going to be a huge. But boy, that was, in hindsight, one of the biggest plays in the entire game, the blocked PAT by Darrell Middleton. Because if that doesn't happen, it's 17-14 in the fourth quarter, and Kentucky doesn't have to go for a touchdown. They can kick a field goal on 2 of their possessions. They had 2 possessions that ended. Actually, they had 3, I think, that ended on failed fourth down conversions. You had the first one was, I'm sure it was in the fourth quarter now. God, I don't remember now. It was the one before Tennessee had that fumble, I think, that drive for them. But they had a fourth down, and for some reason, the most bizarre freaking call they could have called in that fourth down play is 4th and 3 for Kentucky, and they decided to throw a pass kind of into the end zone, but the quarterback, Lynn Bowden Jr. at quarterback, that was bizarre to me. And then later on in the game, what was I talking about here? Fourth down. Was I talking about fourth down stops? Yeah, they're talking about Darrell Middleton. Later on in the game, late in the fourth quarter there, when they got the ball at the Tennessee 48-yard line, 45-yard line. Yeah, that when Tennessee fumbled it, they gave the ball back to, I think, the 46. They gave the ball back to Kentucky in Tennessee territory. Kentucky, if they made that extra point, if Darrell Middleton doesn't block it, then they don't have to go for a touchdown. They could kick a field goal at any point there. They don't have to go for it on fourth down at the goal line. They could have kicked the field goal. They could have kicked the field goal even before that, or they would have had a different style of play calling, and they potentially could have tied it up rather than having to go for a touchdown, having to score a touchdown, and not being able to settle for a field goal there. That was huge. Like I said, that at the time didn't feel like it was going to be a big deal for Tennessee, or maybe make a huge difference in the game. That ended up being a gigantic difference. Tennessee, meanwhile, they overcame a ton of mistakes. You would look at the fumble that they had. You look at the punt where Paxton Brooks fumbled the snap, looked up, kind of took too long, and tried to punt it away, and ended up getting the kick blocked. And then Kentucky had it at the Tennessee, I think, like 26 or 24. You only needed 2 plays to get that touchdown, and then that's the touchdown where they had the blocked PAT. But Tennessee made those mistakes. They made some really bad penalties. Trey Smith, I don't know what he was doing, but he got called for a late hit personal foul or something like that. Or I can't remember what it was now. He got called for a 15-yard penalty that gave Kentucky a first down. Or excuse me, no, it didn't. He's on offense. That went from Tennessee having a 2nd and 7 to a 2nd and 22, and pushed them back further from what they were in the red zone. That could have ended in a touchdown for Tennessee. Ended up resulting in a field goal for Tennessee having to settle for another red zone field goal at that point in the second quarter. I guess I can't remember when the second quarter that was, but a second quarter. So that happened. You had the offsides, I think twice actually. in the first drive of the game against Kentucky that Tennessee got caught offsides twice. Only one was accepted. But that happened. And then you had the not pass interference, the roughing the passer call on Matthew Butler, I believe it was, on a play that was third down. And that was a play where Lynn Bowden just kind of scrambling around trying to make something happen and chucked it deep. And it was almost picked off by, I think, Dan Batuli way down in coverage. But then Matthew Butler got called for roughing the passer, which I don't know if I agree with that call or not, but it is what it is. Then you had the 12 on the field, which was just crazy coming out of a timeout. That goes on. That was on coaching. I don't think coaching was. There's someone was arguing with me on Twitter trying to say that Tennessee was botching the game because of coaching the whole time. That was the only thing I saw that happened that was bad for coaching was that specific play. Otherwise, I thought coaching was fine, but that happened too. I feel like there's another penalty that I'm trying to remember that cost Tennessee points or kept it alive. But I'm they got Tennessee was flagged for a illegal man downfield with Austin Pope that took points off the board. Tennessee's Guarantano threw a touchdown to Callaway, maybe I think Callaway or Palmer. Shoot, I don't remember now. Whoever it was that got taken off the board because of the illegal man downfield. Then it came back and Guarantano threw a touchdown anyway, so it didn't matter. But I didn't catch who said. I think it was Connie who said Tennessee had more points taken off the board. Yeah, Guarantano technically threw like I think 5 touchdown passes in this game, but he only had 2 count because they had at least 2 scores taken off the board because of penalty. I think they had 3, 1 because of review, 1 because of a penalty, and I feel like there was another one that was taken off the board. I could be wrong, but I feel like he had 3. I know he at least had 2 touchdowns taken off the board. Tennessee did because of the penalty, and then another one because of. What was the other one got reviewed? I'm struggling to remember. It's like 1:00 in the morning, guys. So bear with me here as I'm trying to remember the game. I don't have the stats in front of me. I don't have the drives in front of me and everything to kind of pull up either. So, and he also had the pick 6. I think it may be another thing I'm thinking of too was the pick 6. That wasn't Guarantano, but Tennessee had the pick 6 taken out the board because Warrior's foot was just barely out of bounds. Which I mean, it was out of bounds, but it was barely out of bounds. But Tennessee had so many things like go against them in this game where if this was the team that you saw in September, they lose this game. You look back at the Florida game. Tennessee had a lot going, and obviously Florida's a lot better of a team than Kentucky is, but Tennessee had a lot go against them in that game where they had points taken off the board because of interceptions. They had mistakes and penalties that cost them field position, cost them drives and stuff. But that game, Tennessee had turned the ball over a couple of times for Florida or against Florida. They got the Gators to give up the ball. In that game, they ended up losing 34-3. In this game, Tennessee makes mistakes, shoots himself in the foot a lot, and some of the calls were iffy. I agree, but for the most part, I thought the officiating wasn't as bad as it has been in recent weeks against Tennessee. But still, this is the stark contrast you're seeing from Tennessee from the first 4 games. You kind of can throw in 5 and make a little bit of the Georgia game too. The first 4 or 5 games of the season, the first month of the season, to where they are now. This team is playing totally different. If this type of game, if Tennessee had played this type of game against Kentucky in September, they lose. I mean, and they probably lose by a couple scores, I think. If this team could play Kentucky, could play Florida now, I don't think they win it down in the swamp, but I think it would be like a 10-point game or something like that. I think it'd be a lot closer than obviously the 31-point loss they suffered to Florida down in the swamp. But that's a totally different what if. I don't know why I got on that tangent, but I did. But I think it was because this team has shown a lot of growth, and they gave up. The stats on the surface make you think, how in the world did Kentucky lose this game? They totaled 300 rushing yards. They absolutely just dominated the time of possession. I think they had the ball for 41 and a half minutes of this game. Tennessee did not have the ball for 20 minutes of game time in this game. That's insane to me. It wasn't until that last possession of the fourth quarter, for Tennessee, after they had the 4th down stop against Kentucky, Tennessee had run 3 plays in the fourth quarter period, and they got the ball back with like a minute 18 to go in the game, I think. at that point. So you had a minute, you had less than 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and Tennessee had run 3 plays in that quarter. Kentucky had 71 plays. Tennessee ran 46. Um, Tennessee had 6 penalties for 56 yards, I believe. Kentucky had 4 for I think 29 or something like that, 39 maybe. I don't think it was 39. I think it was more like 29. But you had just all this different stuff in Kentucky's favor. But then you dig a little deeper, and you watch the film and you say, oh, this is why Tennessee won. They forced a turnover. I think obviously technically they the turnover margin was 0 because for the blocked punt doesn't count as a turnover because the Tennessee's already giving possession away to Kentucky on that play, so it doesn't count as a turnover. But I kind of count it as a turnover because it's a fumbled snap and a blocked punt that ends up giving Kentucky way better field position. Yes, all right, now I'll get to that here in a second. I want to cover what you just said here in a second. Let me finish this thought. But all those stats, like so, you dig a little bit deeper. Tennessee does force a turnover by Kentucky that didn't result in points with Tennessee, but it stopped a Kentucky drive that was moving along pretty well. Tennessee actually was a lot more efficient on offense with their plays than Kentucky. Kentucky averaged, with their 71 plays, they averaged 4.6 yards per play, obviously because they were running the ball so much. But Tennessee, with their 46 plays, averaged 6.4 yards per play, which is one of their better outputs of the season. They finished below 300 yards of offense, but like I said, it's just because they only ran 46 plays total. They didn't have a chance to rack up a lot of yards. They, I think, had like a 15.6 yard per completion average in this game, or yard per attempt average, maybe something like that. It was a large number for the yard per completion because you had Callaway rip off a couple of big catches. Someone mentioned this on the chat. I agree. Callaway he was an NFL receiver tonight. I mean, he is a jump ball master. I said that on Twitter that he doesn't get stopped in jump balls. I mean, you just throw a ball up and ask him to make a play, and 70 to 80% of the time he's going to make that play. It's insane. He is one of the best jump ball receivers I've ever seen at Tennessee. I mean, they've had some good ones. When Justin Hunter was healthy, he was a good jump ball receiver. Derrick was actually a pretty good jump ball receiver too for Tennessee. Obviously, Juwan Jennings is a good one. But even looking back at Callaway as a freshman or as a sophomore, I remember that catch, to go back to what the Orion Knight says, to kind of transition here a little bit to that Georgia Tech game. I remember that catch in the middle of the field that Callaway made as a sophomore in that Georgia Tech game, and thinking, wow, this kid could be something special. And then that season obviously didn't go anywhere close to what anybody was hoping for Tennessee. But he has proven himself. He proved himself last year with some jump balls. He's proven himself time and time again this year with jump balls. He ended up with 100-something yards in this game, his third 100-yard receiving game of the season. He came into this year with one 100-yard receiving game in his career. He's got 3 this year. That's Jim Chaney for you. That Georgia Tech game, as you said, Orion Knight, and as anyone else is watching here, please feel free to leave a comment on the chat. Thank you all for tuning in, all of you, and we really appreciate it here at RTI for you to tune in and to leave comments and interact with us on the video here. Sorry, I'm trying to get something messed up or something fixed on the screen here. There we go. I said this game was a lot like Georgia Tech in 2017, running the ball on us all night, but Tully with a ton of tackles, and it came down to a goal line stop. Yeah, I mean, I said this early on in the game when in Kentucky, the opening drive took 10 plus minutes of game time, and Tennessee got the ball with maybe not even 5 minutes left in the first quarter when Tennessee first got to actually touch the ball in the first quarter of play. So yeah, I agree. This one, it felt a lot like Georgia Tech to me. You even had a blocked kick. You had Paul Bain block a kick in that one. Obviously a little different than a PAT. I think he blocked the actual, the potential game-winning field goal. But you had a blocked kick. You had David Tully making just tackle after tackle after tackle. You had the team running the ball and controlling the game clock. And then you had a goal line stand. Obviously, the details in those are a little different. The goal line stand was in second overtime. It was on a 2-point conversion. The block kick was a field goal, whereas this game it was a blocked extra point, and the fourth down, the goal line stop on fourth down, or the goal line stop in general was in the fourth quarter, not in the second overtime, and not a 2-point conversion. But still, you're right, Like I said it after the first quarter. This feels like this is the Georgia Tech game all over again. didn't end up being as high scoring because you didn't go to overtime, and you didn't have Georgia Tech's defense wasn't as good as Kentucky's defense, because Kentucky has a good defense. I mean, that was a, as much as Tennessee was able to have success against them in the third quarter, that's still a pretty good defense. They were not as good in the passing game. And if y'all listened to the interview I did with Derek Terry, who covers Kentucky for 247 Sports, he mentioned in our interview podcast that, while the stats may look like Kentucky doesn't have a good run defense, he said, he thought actually if Tennessee was going to have success against Kentucky's defense, they would do it throwing the ball and kind of, going downfield. He was right. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. He covers his team on a day in and day out basis. He knew what he's talking about. Tennessee found a lot more success throwing the ball down the field than running it. Tennessee's running backs didn't have a good game at all. Ty Chandler had that fumble. Tennessee needs to stop with the swing passes and screens, because apparently these backs can't do it for whatever reason. Or maybe the quarterbacks, I don't know, maybe it's, a combination of both the quarterbacks and the running backs. But anyway, Tennessee's leading rusher tonight was Jarrett Guarantano, which was shocking to me. He had 30 yards on 6 carries. Maurer had like 18 or 19 yards, maybe 20 yards. But Ty Chandler had like 26, and that was all he really did. Tim Jordan had like less than 10, maybe. He didn't have very much at all. And then Eric Gray had 1 carry for 0 yards. So, but tonight, to me, I'm talking about the Georgia Tech game. I was like, where'd my train of thought go? It was an impressive win because, like I said, a month and a half ago, this team would have folded. A month and a half ago, this team would not have responded. Jarrett Guarantano would not have responded the way he did. This defense would not have responded the way they did. The defensive effort we've seen in the second half against Kentucky, against South Carolina, and I mean, really, technically, you could say against both Mississippi State and Alabama too. The second half defenses, the adjustments Tennessee have been able to make in the second half over the last month, that gives you hope. That gives you reason to believe in this coaching staff and believe in the future of this program and the future of what can happen with this team this year and moving forward. I'd obviously be a little cautious on that because we've seen second half moons by Tennessee before and not pan out. Obviously, you think back to 2014 with Butch Jones, to 2015 with Butch Jones, to 2011 with Derek Dooley. Those are totally, all three of those are separate instances and totally different things, and not the same for this year either. Kentucky fan here. We're still clear the better team. Okay. 17-13, bud. I mean, Tennessee had a bunch of mistakes and still won 17-13. Kentucky played fairly clean football except for that interception and couldn't put more than 13 points on the board. So I don't know what to tell you, man. Kentucky's not a bad team. They're going to make a bowl game, and they didn't have nearly as bad of a drop-off this year as I think a lot of people thought, especially with the quarterback situation they had. If they have Terry Wilson, this is a totally different team. They lost a ton of that defense from last year, and they still have a very good defense. But yeah, sheep eating duck, it's a great name. Gotta disagree with you there, bud. I don't think Kentucky is the better team. I think if these two teams played 10 times this season, I think Tennessee wins 7 of them at least. Because whatever, no matter where it's played, if it's played in Lexington or Knoxville, I just think Tennessee was. They've played, this was their 6th straight game. Kentucky's coming off a bye week after Kentucky's wrinkles, the new wrinkles they put in the first half wore off, and Tennessee was able to adjust to that. They didn't have a whole lot on offense. They weren't able to do as much on offense as I think they thought they could do against Tennessee's defense. So I disagree with you there, bud. If you're all watching this, thank you all again so much for watching this. If you could give the show a like, give this video a like or whatever, that'd be fantastic. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, that'd also be awesome. I don't want to sit here and be too much plugging and stuff, but we very much appreciate that, and all of you are awesome. But Shoop, are you talking about Bob Shoop? Are you trying to say Stoops? Do you even know who your coach is at this point, dude? Just, I don't know. I think we have a troll in the comment section, guys. But Tennessee improves to 5-5 with a win. They're now 3-3 in SEC play. This is the first time Tennessee has been 500 or better in November in SEC play since 2016, and that was Tennessee improving to 3-3 after beating Kentucky again that year too, to get to 3-3 in the SEC play and 7-3 on the season. This obviously feels a lot different than that 3-3 does, or that 3-3 did, and for good reason, because I mean that team should not have been 3-3 in SEC play. This team, you look back a month and a half ago, they shouldn't have been. They shouldn't be 3-3 in SEC play either. But it's totally different reasons. That team should have been, I think at least 4-2, if not 5-1 in SEC play. This team, a lot of people thought they'd be like, would have one SEC win, if that much, right now at this point, after the way the season began. I don't know with the actual math. I know obviously Florida and Georgia will finish ahead of Tennessee in the SEC East standings. I think, though, if Tennessee wins out, I think they get third place in the East. If my math is correct on that, I think if Tennessee wins out, they will finish third in the SEC East, which that's kind of unbelievable thinking back to where this team was in their first bye week after the Florida game. Sorry, I missed it right now. You said, what about those fourth down play calls for Kentucky? I don't have a big problem with the one that was on the goal line there at the end of the game. I think maybe Lynn Bowden made a poor decision not to pitch it, but I don't disagree with the play call. I thought the play call was fine. I think maybe the execution was a little lacking, but I think the play call was fine. I, for the life of me, cannot remember the other fourth down call that happened in the second half, because there was three. I can only remember two of them. I remember obviously the last one, and I remember the other one in the fourth quarter where I don't know what in the world that play call was on 4th and 3, where they decided to throw it downfield. And the guy was covered well. It wasn't a great play. Why would you have your quarterback, who's not actually a quarterback, throw that pass on 4th and 3? I didn't understand that at all. And like I said, for the life of me, I cannot remember what the other fourth down call that happened. I guess it happened in the third quarter for Kentucky. I cannot remember what that was, but they had 2 fourth down conversions in the first half. They were 2 of 2 on fourth down in the first half. I think 4 of 5 from third down in the first half. Yeah, 4 of 5 on third down and 2 of 2 on fourth down. In the second half, Tennessee held them to 3 of 7 on third down and 0 of 3 on fourth down. No points. They held them to 3.8 yards per carry. I mean, it was just it was a very impressive defensive effort. Ryan Callahan's bashing me. What are you talking about? Why would Ryan Callahan be bashing me? I don't know. Anyway, tonight, to me, this is a big win going into the bye week as well, because this was a much needed win for Tennessee. This was a gritty, really good win for Tennessee against a pretty good opponent, I think. But this was their 6th straight game. Tennessee got some injuries in this game too. They came into this game banged up a little bit, and then Tennessee, they got more banged up in this game. You had Daniel Batuli get hurt. I think he obviously stayed in the game and was fine. Henry Toa got hurt. He came back. I think he was okay too. Obviously, was he in that last play or not? I don't remember now. But Tennessee needs this bye week to regroup, to get healthy, or to get healthier, to figure out the quarterback situation. This quarterback situation is going to be interesting to see moving forward too, because what's Rucker say? He's going to fight me if he runs into me. Yeah, okay. We do have a troll in the midst. I don't feel like shutting you down because you're kind of funny, actually. But anyway, Tennessee has 2 games remaining. This wasn't touched on. The last 2 games Tennessee has on the schedule to get the bowl eligibility, because Tennessee's 5-5 on the season now, 3-3 in SEC play. One more win and you're bowl eligible, which did not look like that was going to happen. I'll keep saying this because it's astounding to me. Before the Georgia game, I think. It's either right before or right after the Georgia game. I'm pretty sure it's the week before the Georgia game. TeamRankings.com, which is a site I like that does a lot of projections and stuff, both in football and college basketball, for bracket play for college basketball. They gave Tennessee a 5% chance. You're a Vol fan. Of course you are. That's funny. Good troll, my dude. Anyway, they gave Tennessee a 5% chance of making a bowl game. And then up until this game against Kentucky, they had like a 54% chance. I know that's going to skyrocket because you look at Tennessee's playing these last 2 weeks. Tennessee gets a bye week. Missouri just played Georgia. They're going to play Florida next. They have been reeling. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the loss to Vanderbilt that just kind of derailed them. But they lost that game in 21-14. They lost to Kentucky 29-7. And they just lost to Georgia 27-0. Vanderbilt, if it wasn't for Arkansas, Vanderbilt would be the worst team in the SEC. But thankfully, I guess, for them, Arkansas's around, and Arkansas is dreadful. They got blasted by Western Kentucky today. But Vanderbilt, they've won one SEC game this year, and they just got absolutely curb stomped by Florida 56-0. Tennessee should, I honestly, Tennessee should be favored in those two games. I didn't think Tennessee would be favored in the Missouri game since it'll be on the road, and Missouri, for whatever reason, tends to just play a lot better at home than they do on the road. Tennessee should be favored in that game. They should definitely be favored in Vanderbilt, even if they don't beat Missouri, which I still think is a possibility because, like I said, they just play a lot better at home. They're a really weird team when it comes to their home road splits. But they're going to be beat up. I mean, like I said, they just played Georgia and they got just manhandled by them. They're going to play Florida. I imagine they'll lose that game too. Whatever hope they had of winning the SEC East and getting some kind of good postseason play is out the window at this point. So I don't, motivation could be a question by the time Tennessee gets up there. 6-6, I would be stunned if Tennessee does not go at least 6-6 at this point. 7-5 is just wildly on the table right now. Tennessee was 1-4 to start this season. They are 5-5 right now, and I mean they look like a totally different team than they did back at the end of September, back at the beginning of October. I mean, I think I think a lot of people point to that Mississippi State game as the quote unquote turning point for this team because that was a win. I still think that Georgia game was a turning point. Tennessee played a lot better in that Georgia game than the score will indicate. Than the score did indicate, excuse me. They played well in the first half. In the second half, Georgia just made adjustments and they proved to be a better team. But I think that game to me was the turning point. Just kind of like last year, you thought maybe that Georgia game was going to be the turning point for that team. Kind of was because they played well against Georgia, had a bye week, and then came out and beat Auburn. So, I mean, kind of did a little bit. It just didn't have the lasting effect that I think this year's Georgia game has had so far on this team. Because even that Bama game, Tennessee played really well. It, like I said, it's another one of those things that it didn't maybe reflect as much in the final score on the scoreboard. But that was a game where it was a 2-possession game late in the fourth. And Tennessee, if not for, the horrible play by Jarrett Guarantano, it could be a 1-possession. I mean, there's no guarantee that the handoff to Quavaris Crouch was a touchdown, but it looked like it was going to be a touchdown by the way that was blocked. So you would have had a 1-possession game with Alabama in the fourth quarter, and you never know what happens. I don't think Tennessee pulls off the upset, but you never know. But that's your one loss in your last, 5 games? Yeah, Tennessee has reversed their fortunes. They were 1-4 to start the year. They've now gone 4-1. They're 5-5. Granted, they're in this exact same spot last year. A big win over Kentucky, and a big upset win over Kentucky last year. This year's not to that same degree, obviously. But you get a big win over Kentucky. You're 5-5. And to me, I think this team, I don't know. I hesitate to say you got to feel better because, I mean, look at last year, what happened with Tennessee getting that big victory over Kentucky. Everyone was feeling confident. Everyone thought Tennessee was going to I won't say everyone, but a lot of people thought Tennessee could get to a bowl game because I don't think they thought Tennessee was going to beat Missouri because that offense had just been so potent that whole season and that they played right into Tennessee's weaknesses on defense. But I think a lot of people thought at least they could beat Vanderbilt in the regular season finale. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I think you got to feel a lot better because of obviously you're playing the exact same 2 teams you played last year to end the season in your last 2 games of this season, but you're playing them in totally different circumstances this year. You're coming off a bye. The two teams you're playing are two very different teams that you had last year. You don't have a Drew Lock or a Kyle Shermer anymore. You have a beat up Kelly Bryant, a looks like a lethargic and just totally disjointed Missouri offense. You have a Vanderbilt offense that is just horrid, and they have man, I don't know, Arkansas and Vanderbilt both are so bad. I would say Vanderbilt I think does have the worst defense in the SEC though. Like I would be. It's hard to pick, I guess, because there's just both Arkansas and Vandy are both so bad. But I think Vanderbilt statistically, I think they have the worst, and they did themselves no favors tonight with that just horrendous loss to Florida earlier today. But I mean, I would be surprised if Tennessee isn't favored in both the remaining games, unless Missouri just comes out and shocks the world and upsets Florida, which I don't think is going to happen. But crazy things happen in college football all the time. But Tennessee should be favored in the last two games, and this is exciting. I mean, this is actually exciting. This is the most excited I've been for Tennessee football probably since I guess October of 2016 when Tennessee was 5-0 and playing Texas A&M. This is probably the most excited I've been covering this team since then, and I imagine it's probably the same for a lot of you. Most excited you've been as a Vol fan probably since that time, because it's been a it's been a while to have excitement. And I know, like I said earlier, you take these things with grains of salt because it's not like the teams Tennessee's beating are, ranked opponents or that they're world beaters or that they're top of the line schools. But these are teams that Tennessee wouldn't have beat a month ago. If Tennessee plays South Carolina or plays Kentucky in September, I don't think they're beating them. I don't think they handle UAB the way they did if they played them in September. Because I think UAB is a better team than Georgia State. Well, I don't know. I actually really don't know about that one because UAB has played a horrible schedule, so I don't. It's hard to judge them. But Tennessee lost the season at the beginning of the season to Georgia State. They lost against BYU, and they didn't have. They really had no business losing that game. They left so many points on the board in that game, and then you obviously had the busted defensive coverage at the end of the game there. But you also didn't have good quarterback play in that game. Tennessee's gotten better quarterback play here, and that's been a big thing. The defense has really stepped up, and Tennessee's gotten better quarterback play and better offensive line play. The offensive line and defensive lines have both improved significantly as the season's gone. I think the offensive line's improved to a higher degree than the defensive line, but both lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, the trenches have gotten a lot better. Tonight, it was probably a little bit more with the linebackers, but also at the same time, defensive line did their jobs and helped absorb some of the offensive linemen there and help the linebackers make those plays. So, I mean, it goes hand in hand. Dan Batula would get all the stats, and with 19 tackles, Henry To'oTo'o got 8 tackles as well. So those guys get the stats. But I thought Ari Solomon did a good job. Gerald Middleton, obviously, he did a good job blocking the kick. I think he did a decent job in the middle. Greg Emerson did a decent job as well. Defensive line, maybe not. Matthew Butler had a few tackles. I think Bumpus might have had a few tackles and a sack, maybe. I know Darrell Taylor got a sack. I don't remember who else got the other sack for Tennessee. I don't think it was Kevon Bennett. I can't remember who got the other sack for Tennessee. Whoever it was, though, I mean, Tennessee's defensive line won't get as much, statistical credit maybe as the linebackers and stuff will. But okay, what was that last comment? Let me pull that back up really quick if I can. There we go. Chase, how about the call on third down with the JG keeper? Yes. Oh, I haven't got a chance to get to that, but that is a fantastic point, Chase. That third down call to seal the game for Tennessee. What a gutsy call, man. What a gutsy call. Right now, it wasn't actually Kurt Garland. He got mistakenly credited for Darrell Taylor's sack in the press box in Lexington. But he did he was there though. I think he got the disruption, but Taylor got the actual sack. But I mean, he played, he played okay too. But that third down call was beautiful. It was a PA rollout. I think it was designed for Guarantano to keep it. I don't know that it was designed for him to actually throw the ball on that play. I think it was designed for him to keep it the whole time. And Guarantano tonight looked like a dual threat. Like he looked like a guy who could make plays with his legs. He wasn't obviously nearly as dynamic or anything that Josh Dobbs is, or even as dynamic as, what Brian Maurer can be as a true freshman out there running the ball. But Guarantano looked a lot better out there running the ball than I've ever seen him look running the ball. And it wasn't like he there's been times in his career where he's run the ball okay, but he would only do it like once or twice in a game. He ran it multiple times tonight. Like I said, he was Tennessee's leading rusher, 6 carries for 30 yards. I mean, that's not anything to brag about being, 30 yards being a leading rusher for the team. But those were efficient runs. He had an 11-yard run. He had that. I guess that was a what ended up being like a 5 or 6 yard run. He had another 5 or 6 yard run at one point. He had another one where he picked up 3 or 4 yards. Um, okay, so JG said in the press conference that the play was a passing play with 2 receivers. Okay, I guess maybe it was a pass play. I wondered that. So thank you. I didn't have a chance to see or hear much of the post game comments. I heard a little bit from Pruitt, but I haven't heard anything from the players yet. So thank you for clearing that up, and thank you for all of you who've tuned in so far. We've got a ton of people watching this live, which I think this might be the most we've had watched live so far this season. So thank you. This is awesome. I may go longer than I thought I was going to go because of this. So if you have any other comments or anything, any questions, comments, exclamations, celebrations you want to say in the chat, please leave those in the comments below here on the chat. Appreciate all of you. Give the video a like, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well if you haven't followed us and liked us on all of those. I'm on Twitter at Mr_Rutherford if you want to follow me on there as well. But this game, I haven't really talked about. I feel like I haven't talked about Josh Palmer and Marquez Callaway a whole lot, actually. I touched on Callaway a little bit earlier. Palmer was very impressive today. Did he have a drop? Oh, that was what I'm thinking of earlier. They called a touchdown off the board. This is going way back to my conversation earlier, or topic earlier about how many touchdowns Tennessee wipe off the board. He had a touchdown wiped off the board because Palmer caught a pass, broke a tackle, and originally they called it ran it in for touchdown, but they reviewed it and his knee was on the ground. That was another touchdown that got wiped off the board. I knew there was one. I was like, there's another touchdown I'm struggling to remember that was wiped off the board for Tennessee. So they had the Dane Matuli pick six that was wiped off. They had that one that was wiped off. They had the one where Guarantano threw it and it was wiped off because you had the illegal man downfield. And then now I'm forgetting the other one that he had wiped off too. But that's at least 3 touchdowns that Tennessee could have scored. And on two of those, I think. Yeah, on 2 of those, they ended up scoring touchdowns anyway. So you really only had, I guess, one that really was wiped off and made a difference on the scoreboard. But still, Tennessee has overcame so much. Yeah, the cough that fell by Chandler almost cost the game for the Vols there. Yeah, that, boy. Talk about the most, worst timing for a turnover there possible. I said this on Twitter at the time when Tennessee started that possession. The first thought that ran through my head, I think during the commercial break actually, was just don't turn the ball over here and you should be fine. Don't turn it over to whatever you do. Even if you go 3 and out, don't turn it over because you're going to give them good field position. What do they do? Very first play, fumble it. I thought, golly, man. I think it was the first play. I think it might have been maybe 5 no, I think it was first play. But just like, what are you doing? That was the worst timing possible for that to happen. And then give credit to Tennessee's defense for standing strong there on that 4th down on the goal line. But to go back to Palmer and Callaway, those 2 guys played really well. Palmer to me has been disappointing this year. He's come on strong in the last couple weeks though. He's played a lot better over the last couple weeks. He's living up to his potential a little bit more tonight. I mean, that catch he made for the touchdown, wow. I mean, probably the best non-Juwan Jennings, Marquez Callaway catch that Tennessee's had in the last, 2-3 years maybe, I guess. But I mean, that catch was incredible. Callaway, as I said earlier, just made incredible just jump ball catch after jump ball catch after jump ball catch. I think maybe all 3 of his big catches tonight were jump balls. I'm trying to remember. And at least obviously 2 of them were. I think actually his touchdown grab might not have been a jump ball. I don't remember now. He just made great play after great play tonight. Juwan Jennings didn't have the stats that he's had in the past few weeks, but he still had a good game with 49 receiving yards tonight. Make him Mean Mug says, yo, what a win. JG, what a story. Hope he'll back off the kid. We never get a comeback story like this. So yeah, I mean, it's been really nice to watch Guarantano come back and make this comeback. He's a guy that I was in the group, making a group chat with my former boss or former editor of RTI, Daniel Lewis, and my, the boss and the co-founder of RTI, John K. Osborne, making a group chat during the game, and or talking in a group chat during the game, excuse me. And afterwards, John made a good point. He said, this is, I can give credit to Pruitt for sticking with JG, because it would have been a very understandable and very easy decision to move on from him after the way the season began, and especially after the Alabama game, and to just, shut him down or move on from him or whatever. But he never publicly trashed the kid. He never publicly, said we're moving on from him. And he kept him in the, he kept him on the bench, kept him ready to go. And he's, and to prove his point, Pruitt after the, after the Georgia game, I believe, he said that Guarantano's still going to help us win games. Dude ain't lied. He's come off the bench 3 different times and led Tennessee to victory 3 different times this season. I guess the only time he didn't come off the bench and lead Tennessee to victory, obviously, was the Alabama game, and that was, don't want to talk about that. But in the other 3 games where he's come off the bench, I guess technically he came off the bench against UAB too. So really, 4 of the last 5 games where he's not been the starter, he's come in and won the game for Tennessee, or help along with the defensive front 7, or the defense playing really well just in general. But he's come out against Mississippi State and led Tennessee to victory. He came out against South Carolina and helped lead Tennessee to victory. He came out against UAB and that obviously helped Tennessee to lead to victory in that one too. And then tonight played just exceptionally well and helped lead Tennessee to victory. Yeah, Chris Manfield, that block by Tim Jordan on that run by Guarantano, I know exactly what you're talking about. That run where Guarantano picked up and kind of squeaked by and made a good play, like a good cut to get a first down. That edge ceiling block by Tim Jordan, that won't show up in the stat sheet, but that was incredibly well done there by him. That was just textbook. That's what you're supposed to do. And he did it perfectly, and it helped to get the first down for Tennessee and for Guarantano there. And I can't remember what drive that was. That ended on a touchdown. I just can't remember when that was exactly now, when that happened, but that was exceptional. Yeah, that was the one throw he missed. He kind of threw it behind Dominic Wood-Anderson, but Wood-Anderson still probably could have caught it. And as the guys on the TV broadcast said, Jordan Rodgers was the color guy. I think he pointed out, obviously Jordan Rodgers played quarterback, so I don't like Jordan Rodgers, but he would know. But he mentioned that if he threw it in front of Wood-Anderson, that it really likely could have been picked off by the defense. So Guarantano threw it kind of where he's supposed to throw it. Wood-Anderson just didn't catch it. So even the one he missed on might not have been his fault. So you had really tonight one bad play by Guarantano, and it was more due to the fact that he has a messed up wrist. It wasn't because anything he did wrong that he could have really helped. It was that fumbled exchange between him and Ty Chandler, and Chandler's got to be better too. Chandler has an issue with holding on to the football, so he's got to be better about that too. But that was really the only play where Guarantano messed up, and like I said, it's a little understandable because he has several screws in his wrist, and he can't really do a whole lot with that wrist. So it's that wasn't like a throwing an interception in the end zone, or staring down a defender and throwing it to him when he's triple covered or anything like that. That wasn't one of those decisions or one of those mistakes. It was a thing where, he can't help that he has a big cast on his wrist here and has screws in it and has not good mobility with it, not be able to grip the ball the way he would like to do. And that's why they brought in Maurer for one play in the second half. I don't remember when that was. It was Tennessee got in the red zone. Guarantano, I think he just picked up a run on a first down. I think it's that run we were just talking about, maybe that long run where he picked up the first down, in the Tim Jordan block. I think you had Guarantano run off the field. I think it was because they wanted to. It's either because he had something get tweaked with his wrist, or the play call was to something that he didn't feel comfortable doing, where he's handing off with his left, and Maurer got the snap and fumbled it. So it was one of those things where you immediately get in the red zone, and it's like, why does Tennessee keep screwing up in the red zone? They get there and all of a sudden they just can't execute anymore. But tonight did it better. They had that field goal that could have maybe been a touchdown if not for that 15-yard penalty against Trey Smith. They had that field goal, and then I think the other 2 possessions they had in the red zone ended in touchdowns, which were nice because that field goal was Tennessee's 33rd trip into the red zone. and it was their 11th field goal in the red zone. So they do end up getting 2 touchdowns tonight in the red zone. So that bumps up the average a little better. But yeah, that missed face mask on Cowboy, that's a good one too. They had his helmet ripped off. Like, if a dude's helmet gets ripped off, how is that not a penalty? I don't know. There was officiating wasn't nearly as bad in this game as it was, for example, in the Alabama game or in the South Carolina game, but it wasn't good. I mean, SEC officiating just is not good, folks. I don't know. It's not good. And maybe we had a good, interesting question in our mailbag. It wasn't this week, but it was the week before last. If you don't check the mailbag out, you should, because it's one of my favorite things we do on RocketTopInsider.com is we ask people on Twitter. So if you follow us on Twitter, be sure to look out for it. You usually ask on Tuesdays or Wednesdays in the afternoon. Ask for questions from our listeners or viewers and stuff, or just people on Twitter for our mailbag. So we answer it in an article in there for Ben McKee and I, our my staff writer at RTI. But someone asked us, do we think Tennessee's getting bottom barrel SEC officiating because they're not a good team and the teams have been playing lately aren't great teams either? I think that's fair, but I also think SEC officiating in general is just bad. So I don't know if it's maybe more because Tennessee's not so good and the teams they're playing aren't so good, or if it's just the SEC officiating from top to bottom's awful. I think it's a mixture of both, and I think I might lean a little more heavily to SEC officiating in general is just bad. I don't remember. I didn't get to watch all of the LSU Alabama game. I did watch most of the second half, so I didn't see if there were any really bad, egregious missed calls in that one. It didn't feel like there wasn't as many, so maybe there's something to it. Make 'em Mean Mug says, you're asking this question. My friends and I argue about this. Do you think him being a psychology major, he thinks too much, and obviously him being a psychology major, he probably doesn't think he thinks too much. I guess you're talking about Guarantano. I didn't actually realize he was a psychology major. I do think Guarantano thinks a little too much sometimes. You had Josh Dobbs get kind of accused of that this time in Tennessee, and I think it was somewhat true for him. He processed things and he was a little slow in the processing because he was thinking too much. He got better with that a little bit in his junior year, but definitely by his senior season. I think Guarantano does the same thing, or maybe not to the same degree or the same way that Dobbs did, but I think Guarantano, I think he does think too much. I think he is a little slower to process things sometimes, and that's not saying he's got to. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but I think he's just a little bit slower on the processing things than what maybe Brian Maurer is, or some other quarterbacks are, or just picking up things like he should. Just that even just like a tenth of a second slower than what he should, it results in some bad plays and some mistakes. But I think I've done this one long enough. It's late at night. I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off on the live show here. So I appreciate all of you for tuning in. I would go longer, but I mean, it's like 1 something already. So I got a little bit more work to do. We have all kinds of videos here on the YouTube if you want to check them out, of the post game from the players, post game of Pruitt, post game celebration on the field by Tennessee's players. So check all of those out. If you caught this later on, you can catch this in the beginning. You can catch the replay of it once this stops being live. It should go into like an archived, just like a video. So you can kind of watch it whenever. I have it posted into an article on RocketTopInsider.com as well for you to view that whenever you want to. So or if you, like I said, subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can watch it whenever as well. Just do that way. Subscribe to our channel, give this video a like, turn on notifications so you can see when we have new videos coming up, because we do practice videos for football. We do obviously do these post-game shows. We have media availabilities for football, basketball as well, Lady Vols. So if you want to know when things have, when videos have come out, when the practice video goes live, when we go live for post-game shows, and maybe we'll do some other live content and stuff in the future as well, be sure to subscribe to us and hit the notification button down low. Give this video a like. And you guys have been awesome. Thank you all so much for everyone who left comments in the chat. I don't have time to go back and list through all of y'all's names, but I know Chase, the Ryan Knight, just a couple of those ones, Mean Muggin, whatever your name was, just a few of you who left comments in the chat. Thank you so much. Y'all are awesome. If you're watching this in the replay, leave comments on the video if you want to as well. Thank you so much, guys. I am Nathaniel Rutherford, again, with RocketTopInsider.com. You can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, obviously YouTube. And like I said, website is RocketTopInsider.com. We do podcasts, articles, videos, everything you could want covering Tennessee football, basketball, Lady Vols, baseball. all of it. Thank you all so much, and we'll be back again, I guess not next week because there isn't a game. We'll be back again sometime soon for Tennessee's next game, hopefully another victory over Missouri. See you guys.